Good morning, ladies. Hi. How are you? Yeah, it's been a week. Last week I can't remember. Something happened on Wednesday. But I love you, ladies. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mama. Hi, girls. And guys. Hi, baby. I love you, my baby boy. He knows who he is. Okay, so today we're going to be reading When Grandma Banged the Barrel. You know, I'm a grandma, and most of you guys are grandmas too, so fits right in, works for us, right? Okay. When Grandma was much younger than she is right now, she lived in a small farm hundreds of miles away from the big city. Her nearest neighbor was so far away that she scarcely even saw them. Sometimes she would feel very lonely, especially when her husband was working far from home and she was left all alone with the children for weeks on end. Sometimes food would get scarce and the children would have to go on short rations until their daddy got back with fresh supplies. One bad winter, he didn't get back when he said he would, and the food ran out. Grandma was worried. She hated to see the children suffer, and gladly she would have driven to the nearest village to buy food. But there was no way for her to get there. Her husband had the horse and carriage. She couldn't telephone for help because farmhouses didn't have telephones in those days. So, the last little bit of food was eaten, and Grandma wondered what would happen if her husband didn't return soon. The next morning she went to the flour barrel and looked in, and it was empty. This meant there would be nothing to eat for breakfast. At that moment, Grandma remembered another barrel that belonged to a woman like her, and how the prophet Elijah promised that if she would put God first, the barrel would never be empty. She knelt by the barrel and she prayed. I've always tried to put you first, dear God. Here she is praying before I turn the page. I know I gotta finish her prayer. There she is with her little girl right there. I've paid my tithe, I've brought up my children to love you, and now we are in great need, and I claim the same promise. And as she prayed, a voice seemed to say to her, bang the barrel. So she stood up and she banged it with a good hard thump and the flour dipper. And then she looked inside. There was flour on the bottom. Quite a lot, in fact, at least enough to make a nice little breakfast for everyone. The next day, Grandma banged the barrel again. Once more, there was flour on the bottom, and this time there was enough to make a pan of biscuits. The third day she banged it again, and still more flour came. The day after that she banged it again. And believe it or not, she kept banging the barrel for a whole month, and without fail always found enough flour at the bottom to give them something to eat. She was still banging it when her husband arrived home with fresh supplies of food. He laughed when he heard her story, but she didn't. To her, it was something very precious. Ever after, she would remember 1 Kings 17:14. And the barrel of meal shall not waste, neither shall the curse of the oil fail until that day that the Lord sends rain upon the earth. She claimed God's promise and he kept it as he always does. I like that story. You know, and sometimes we have things and it's just like it won't work. I have nothing. I have nothing. And God in his wisdom supplies exactly what we need. Remember, girls, we have to go to God first because number one, usually he's all we have. Number two, God's promises are true. Just see what God will do. If you think, oh, you're so crazy, you're right. No. You just see what God will do. Okay, girls. Here's a picture of the barrel with the flour. Of course, we don't do that anymore. We don't have barrels. If I had barrels, I'd have bugs. I don't know how they managed. Boy, they're better than me. But yeah, they used to use the barrels and flour and stuff would be in the barrels, meal, whatever they had. So that's our challenge, girls. Depend on God all the time. And just see what God will do. I love you, ladies. I miss you all terribly. Have a fabulous week. Okay, I'll try to talk to you guys through the week. I love you, ladies.